Hi, boys and girls. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, we're going to spend some time reviewing some of the concepts that you learned on Tuesday, and we'll also be going over identifying the properties of different quadrilaterals. So this week, you learned about the different types of lines. You learned about 3 types of lines. You learned about parallel lines, intersecting lines, and perpendicular lines. So we're going to review those lines because you're going to have to apply those concepts to understanding the properties of quadrilaterals. So parallel lines you learned about on Tuesday, that they are lines that are the same distance apart and they never meet. So here I have 3 examples of parallel lines. You can see in this first example, the lines are ongoing and they never touch. The lines here are ongoing, and as you can see, they're the same distance apart, and they're just going to keep going up and down, and they'll never touch. And these lines here are also parallel. They are on a slant, and again, they're never going to touch. Now, intersecting lines are 2 lines that cross each other. So here we have 2 lines, and if you notice, they cross each other, they intersect. These lines right here, these second lines, you'll see that they aren't touching, but if I take a marker and I extend the line, as I'm doing right now, if I extended this line, and then I extended this line here, we'll extend it a little bit more, extend it some more. If I extended it, both lines will eventually intersect. As you can see that they intersect. Even though they might not start at the same intersecting, eventually you'll notice that they eventually cross each other. And then the last set of lines that you learned about are perpendicular lines. These are 2 lines that meet at a 90-degree angle. So we talked about 90-degree angles. You learned about that in 4th grade. Are angles that form are right angles. So if you look here on this particular perpendicular line, you'll see here that you'll have a right angle, which I'm going to circle here. You'll see that there's a right angle. So if you notice, it crosses each other and they meet at a 90-degree angle. Here's another example of a perpendicular line where you'll see that the lines cross and the lines meet, and then it forms a 90-degree angle. Okay, not only does it form a 90-degree angle here, but it also forms a 90-degree angle on the other side. The same thing here. There's 90-degree angles all over this shape. You'll see 90-degree angles here, here, and here. All right? So those are the 3 different types of lines. Now, you can classify lines you can classify quadrilaterals based on whether or not they have parallel lines, whether or not they have right angles. So that's what we're going to move into next. So we'll first start off by talking about what is a quadrilateral. Well, a quadrilateral is any polygon that has exactly 4 sides. In the word quadrilateral is the prefix quad, and the prefix quad means 4. So any polygon that has exactly 4 sides. Quadrilaterals can be classified by properties such as the number of parallel sides, number of equal sides, and their angle measurements. So you can look at a quadrilateral and you could classify them. When we're talking about classifying them, we can group them by their parallel sides, the number of equal sides, and the angle measurements. So we're going to go over the different types of quadrilaterals. So the first quadrilateral we're going to go over is a trapezoid. Now, a trapezoid has at least 1 pair of parallel sides. When I'm talking about pair, I'm talking about two. So I can find two parallel lines, okay? And two is a pair. Two is a pair. So if I look at this trapezoid, these are all trapezoids here. These are all different ways trapezoids can look. We can see here, and I'm going to note where all the parallel sides are. Okay, so remember, parallel sides are lines that never meet. They'll never touch. So I can look here at the top here. We have one parallel side and we have another parallel side here. So if you look and see, you'll see that it has one pair. Okay, let's look at this trapezoid. This is another type of trapezoid. By the way, I'm going to use the highlighter. You can see here, there's one parallel line here. There's another parallel line here. And if you notice, these two lines here will never touch. If we do these lines, someone might be wondering, well, Mrs. Grant, what if these lines right here? These lines at the sides here are not parallel. These side lines are not parallel. If I extended these lines, they would actually meet. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So if I extended this side line here and this side line here, you would see that they would actually meet. So therefore, this particular trapezoid has only one pair. And remember, in order to be classified as a trapezoid, you only need one pair of parallel sides. All right, so in this particular one, you'll see the parallel lines are here. The parallel lines are at the top of the shape. That's parallel to the bottom line. So this has one pair. It has two parallel lines, and those two parallel lines form one pair. All right, now we're going to move on to the next quadrilateral that we're going to talk about is a rhombus. Now, in a rhombus, all four sides are the same length and opposite sides are parallel. So when it says all sides are the same length, that means this side is the same as this side. And this side is the same. This side is the same. So all sides are the same length. Okay? Same thing here. This side, and this side, and this side. They're all the same length. All right? And then opposite sides are parallel. So let's look at that. So it's pretty much saying this side right here is parallel to this side. This side right here is parallel to this side. So pretty much opposite sides are parallel, as you can see. And I'll show you with this one. You'll see that this side is parallel to this side. And I'll use a different color. And this side is parallel to this side. So usually a rhombus has how many pairs? Two pairs of parallel sides. This is one pair. The side that is blue, that's one pair. And the side that is red, that's the second pair. So rhombus has two pairs of parallel sides. All right, so let's look at a parallelogram. So a parallelogram, in the word parallelogram is the word parallel. That means that this shape has to have parallel sides. So opposite sides are equal and are parallel. So you'll see here, if I said this side right here is 4, that means this side is 4. The opposite sides are equal. If I said this side right here is 5, that means this side right here would be 5 also. Opposite sides are equal, which is different from a rhombus, because in a rhombus, all sides are equal. Not only are opposite sides equal, but you have parallel lines. How many pairs of parallel lines is a parallelogram? A parallelogram has 2 pairs. Let's look at the 2 pairs. Okay, so the top side is parallel to the bottom, right? The top and the bottom lines will never touch. And on the other side, we'll use a different color. We'll use yellow. The side where the measurement was 5, that side is parallel to the other side. So it has 2 pairs of parallel sides. All right, so we learned about trapezoid. Remember, trapezoid has at least 1 pair. Rhombus, all sides are equal, and it has 2 pairs of parallel lines. Parallelogram, opposite sides are equal, and it has 2 pairs of parallel lines. All right, now let's go into a rectangle. Now, a rectangle is different from a parallelogram and a rhombus and a trapezoid. In a rectangle, it's important to note that it has 4 right angles. Remember, 4 right angles. So you'll see I'm highlighting all the right angles. It has 4 right angles. Not only does it have 4 right angles, but opposite sides are congruent. You're going to hear that word congruent on and off. Congruent means equal. Okay, so opposite sides are equal. So similar to the other slide where if I said this side was 4, that would mean this side is also 4. If I said this side was 8, this side would also be 8. Okay, so opposite sides are congruent. All right, not only are opposite sides congruent or equal, okay, but also they are parallel. So for example, the top side that I said had 8, we'll use, okay, so this side, the top, is parallel to the bottom. So that is 1 pair of parallel side. All right, and then if I use the side, this side is parallel to the other side, the opposite side. So it has 2 pairs of parallel sides. So a rectangle has 4 right angles, opposite sides are congruent in length, and it has 2 pairs of parallel sides. Now, a square. Let's get into a square. In a square, it has 4 right angles. 4 right angles. So we'll look and see. If you notice here, the corners, you'll see that the corners are right angles. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4. It has 4 right angles, and all sides are equal. That's the difference between a square and a rectangle. In a square, opposite sides are equal. As we've seen here, where you saw if this side was 8, this is 8. If this side is 4, this is 4. That's different with a square. With a square, all sides are congruent. Okay, that's important to know that in a square, all sides are congruent or equal. So I'm going to highlight that just so you can remember that all sides are equal or congruent in a square. So for example, if I said this side is 6, okay? If I said this side was 6, that would mean this side is 6. That would mean this side is 6. That would mean the bottom is also 6. So all sides are equal. All sides are congruent. So that's important to know about a square. All sides are equal. Not only are all sides equal, but it also has 2 pairs of parallel sides. So for example, the top side, this side here, we'll use the highlighter. This side here is parallel to this side. So that would be 1 pair. And then this side here is parallel to the other side. So that would be the second pair. So that would be 2 pairs. Okay? So opposite sides are parallel to each other. And all sides are equal, and it has 4 right angles. All right, so now we're going to move on. Here I have this question. Are all squares rectangles? So we learned about what squares are, right? Squares, all four sides are right angle. It has 4 right angles. It has 4 sides that are congruent or equal, and it has 2 pairs of parallel sides. All right, so are all squares rectangles? I want you to take a minute and think about that. Are all squares rectangles? Well, the answer to that is yes. All squares are rectangles. Let's think about what you need in order to be a rectangle. So, the properties of a rectangle, just to refresh our memory. 4 right angles, opposite sides are equal, 2 pairs of parallel lines, right? Let's think about if a square fits that characteristics. Does a square have 4 right angles? Yes. The angles are here, right? Right angle right there. You also have a right angle down here. You have a right angle here. So all angles in a square are right angles. So you have 4 right angles. So we'll give that a check. Opposite sides are equal. Well, we know in a square, all sides are equal. So for example, if this side is 3, that would mean this side is 3. If this side right here is 3, that would mean this side is 3, right? Because in a square, all sides are equal. So are opposite sides in a square equal? Yes. So does it fit the characteristics of a rectangle? Yeah, it does. The last thing, the property of a rectangle is 2 pairs of parallel sides. Well, let's look at it. Here in a square, this is parallel. This side is parallel to this side. Okay? This side is parallel to this side. So in this particular case, does it fit that characteristics? Yes, so I could give it a check. So all the properties of a rectangle, 4 right angles, opposite sides are equal, 2 pairs of parallel lines, all those properties fit a square. So yes, all squares are rectangle. All right? So let's look at this question. Are all rectangles squares? Are all rectangles squares? No, a rectangle cannot be a square. But you probably might be saying, wait, but Miss Grant, you said a square can be a rectangle. Hold up, you're confusing me. I know, it's confusing. But let's think about what is a rectangle and what you have to be in order to be a square. Now, properties of a square. A square has 4 right angles. Does a rectangle have that? Well, let's look at the rectangle right here. It has 4 right angles. There they are. 4 right angles. So let's give that a check. It has 4 right angles. In order to be a square, all sides are equal or congruent. In a rectangle, are all sides equal? No. Opposite sides are equal. So if I said this was, let's say, 5, this is 5, right? And if I could say this side is 3, then this side would be 3. And in order to be a square, all sides are equal. Does that fit it? No, it doesn't. That is why a rectangle cannot be a square. Because in order to be a square, all sides are equal. And in a rectangle, all sides are not equal. So that is not considered a square. Okay? Even though a rectangle does have two pairs of parallel sides, but because it does not have all sides are equal, it cannot be a square. All right, so the last thing that I want to go over is this chart right here. This will be the very last thing we'll go over. So these are the main quadrilaterals that you need to be aware of. All of these are quadrilaterals. Remember, in the word quad has the prefix quad, which means 4. Okay? So parallelograms, right? All of these quadrilaterals have two pairs of parallel sides. So you have parallelograms, rectangles, rhombi or rhombuses, and squares. These all have two pairs of parallel sides, okay? And if you notice here, you can see that all parallelograms, okay, a rectangle can be considered a parallelogram. A rhombus can be considered a parallelogram, okay? A rectangle and a rhombi, right? Both of these can be considered parallelograms. Now, squares, right? A parallelogram, a rectangle, and rhombus, a square can be called a rectangle, a square can be called a rhombus, and a square can be called a parallelogram because a square has all the characteristics of a rhombus. All sides are equal and two pairs of parallel sides. That fits a rhombus, right? A square, in order to be a parallelogram, you need to have two pairs of parallel sides. Guess what? A square has two pairs of parallel sides, so a square can be called a parallelogram. So all of these have two pairs of parallel sides, so you need to be aware of the parallel sides in these shapes. A trapezoid is a shape that only has one pair of parallel sides. So a trapezoid, if you notice, is separate from these ones over here because these have two pairs. Trapezoid only has one pair of parallel sides. And a kite is a special type of quadrilateral because it has no pairs of parallel sides. That's why the kite is all by itself, because it has no pairs of parallel sides. So hopefully you find this lesson helpful in understanding the properties of a quadrilateral. I have an assignment following this, the Google Slides activity. Make sure you complete it. And of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email or message me to get your questions answered. All right. Have a wonderful day. See ya.